Welcome back to the Ingaged Podcast. I'm your host, Pam Torrey, and today we're joined by Adam Bensman, founder of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance, aka RSRA, and a go-to expert when it comes to training high-performing roofing sales teams. Adam's helped thousands of reps and leaders rethink their approach to sales, from how they present, to how they overcome objections, to how they win trust at the kitchen table. In this episode, we're digging into the mindset behind great sales, what makes a great presentation actually work in the roofing world, and how to get buy-in from reps at every level. Whether you're running a team or just trying to close your next deal, this conversation is packed with smart, no fluff advice. So let's just dive into it. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really exciting to have you here.
Hey, I'm honored to be here. I've been using Ingaged for my own company for a long time and have been honored to be a partner with you guys, and being able to give back to the greater community and help people create a better sales experience is my passion. So excited to jump in.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to getting into this conversation because you really do kind of run the gamut when it comes to the roofers that you work with. You work with people at every size, every stage. You sort of have seen everything going on in the industry.
Yes.
And I think with some of the volatility that we're experiencing right now in the market, people kind of panic a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that, you've got this really clear message of like, let's get back to what works. Like, let's talk about what works. What do we need to have in place so that we can run a business regardless of what's going on? So I kind of want to start at the beginning. How did you specifically get into the roofing world? And then what led you subsequently to launch RSRA?
Oh man, no one grows up wanting to be in roofing. I know that from speaking on stages all across America and asking
It's not
literally
a thing.
thousands of people. So I got into it because many of us have heard the advice: do what you're passionate about in life, and you'll be successful and be happy. And at that point, my passion was natural medicine. So I got certified in a bunch of modalities, started my private practice, and I had everything in place except the one thing you need to make money, which is clients. So to make
That'll
ends,
do it.
yeah, I got a job as a massage therapist at a franchise, and coming out of school, like good massage therapy jobs, which was not really my passion, but it was to fuel my natural medicine practice. I was living below the poverty line. So I made less than 20 grand. I think it was like 19,600 bucks or something like that. It was my W-2 for the first year. And my family was getting together 2 hours away from me, and I couldn't afford gas to get there. So I had to ask my mom for money. She's like, "Why aren't you going to Easter?" I was like, "I can't afford it." She's like, "What do you mean?" She had no idea how broke I was. So she gave me 20 bucks so I could drive down there. And on the way in, I called my mom to say thank you. And my stepdad was in the background. My parents, they divorced later in life. I didn't know much about what my stepdad, Ron, did. I just knew he was in roofing. And he goes, "Hey, Adam, if you're looking for a change, you can make six figures selling roofs door to door." And I'm sitting here thinking like, no thanks. Roofing sounds boring as hell. And I didn't know door to door existed still. And I brushed it off, but I had 4 hours of drive time. So I reconsidered. Got on Craigslist. That this was back in 2011, by the way. Got on Craigslist and found this seems real. So ended up jumping into the industry with a great company after quickly learning that there's a lot of scumbags out there, because I was taught how to do insurance fraud in my first interview. I did not work for that company, by the way. And then I ended up on this side through a series of serendipitous events of trying to leave the industry 3 times. And I kept getting sucked back in, and
It just gets you.
it gets me. I was doing consulting for companies one-on-one. I got tired of dealing with owners that didn't follow through. I'm like, "Man, get this going with your team." They wouldn't do it. So I made videos for them. I'm like, "Share these with your team." And when I stepped away I think that was the 3rd time, uh, I I decided, you know what, I'm just going to make my videos free. And I flipped them from unlisted to public. And people found my videos and said, "Make more." And I had no product idea, no business idea. I just made videos. My wife said, "You're helping people, just do it." So I did. And then that led to my first programs for roofing. And I ended up developing a platform to teach roofing sales the way that I did it, to roofing contractors all across America. So we were in every state in the US, Canada, Australia, Sweden, became a official sales training partner of Owens Corning at that point. I've since stepped away from that to focus on my community. But I got really tired of finding out and hearing the stories of my stuff being used for evil. Companies not, and it wasn't just roofing companies, it was also salespeople that were doing not great things. And I had this idea to gate my platform. It's like, this is powerful stuff. I want to make sure only the right people have it. And the idea of the Reform Alliance popped in my head at 1 a.m. back in December of 23. By March 1st, we launched the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance, which is an application-only organization, a community of roofers who don't like roofers, where we share our winning secrets to help each other dominate in today's fast-changing and unpredictable times. And now we got hundreds of roofing companies in there. We're in 40 states, including Canada, and it's a great place and a really fulfilling place to get in the trenches and go from having that transaction business to a relationship business, where instead of selling my thing, I'm working with people and we're in the trenches together growing. So that's the story of how it all.
Yeah, roofing just kind of gets you. You end up in this industry sort of like, I think a lot of people just sort of end up here by accident and then can't really leave. It's actually what happened to Engage. We sort of fell into this industry with our very first customer in this space, which was New Pro.
Yeah.
And we just never left.
Yeah.
And, we've talked about finding other verticals, and we have some customers who do other things, but like by and large, this is where we are, is in remodeling.
Yeah.
And it's just a really nice industry to be in. There's a lot of great people. There's some people who are doing suspicious things, which you talked about, but like by and large, like the people who really want to be here.
Yeah.
And so you talked about the fact that you're currently in 40 states plus Canada. And so you have really trained like thousands of sales reps. I mean, if you look across the breadth of your company's portfolio, you've worked with so many people. Can you tell us what you think really separates top performers from the herd in roofing sales, from everyone else? Like, what makes those top performers really special?
I think it's a combination of intrinsic and extrinsic factors. And if I were to start, number one is getting set up with the right company. There's a lot. I've supported literally tens of thousands of roofing sales reps. I've heard so many stories. When they're not with the right company, it's very hard to be successful. They'll start to have the taste of success, meaning like wins with customers, but then the rest doesn't shake out. So number one is getting paired with the right company. Number two is the right philosophical approach to sales. And the folks that are the most successful, and everyone's going to define success differently. In sales, often success is directly linked to making money. And for some people in sales, that's the primary or only motivator. And then others, it's a combination of actually helping people. Like the best, I call them thank you notes. When a homeowner says thank you when they're handing you a check, if they say thank you so much, or they invite you to dinner, that's the ultimate compliment. And there are people that approach selling from this get mentality. I'm going to get something from you. And they just put a bullseye on the homeowner's back. And it's just like, this is a way for me to get more of what I want. Those people I don't see successful long-term. Some of them have made good money, but they are not successful long-term. The people that are truly successful, both humans and companies at large, have a give mentality. And they've embraced the idea that sales is the art of giving people what they want or getting them what they want. And the right salespeople understand that starting a sales conversation is the act of discovery to discover what they need and what they want, and finding a way to deliver it so long as you actually can, and then fulfill upon that promise. And then the third element I would say is those that approach sales like learning any new skill or a sport. And I laugh. I'm like, name the top NFL quarterback that skipped practice because he was already great and he just showed up on game day. Like it doesn't happen. Yet so many salespeople come into this field and they're like, hey, I'm gonna be in sales. And practice is, well, you just earn while you learn, which is another way of saying you lose while you fail, right? Like your people are taking money out of your pocket. So the most successful people that I see do role play. They practice. And without I am going to get a little vulgar, role play is for the bedroom, right? Sales practice is what you do, just the same as if you're an athlete, you practice, you drill, you go through, you get in your repetitions. And those that have those three things, the right company, and they have the right mindset, and they approach sales they have the right mindset of approaching sales by helping people get what they want, and then they practice their craft. Those are the people that will be untouched by anybody else.
Yeah, I want to emphasize the practice element here. 'Cause so in my other life, most of our listeners know this. I'm a professional classical singer. In my other life, I have 2 degrees in opera performance, and I do work professionally as a singer still to this day. I work quite a lot, actually. And the people that I see who have longevity in that space are the people who are just consistently like hammering away at the day to
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
They're not trying to do the flashy stuff. They're not out here constantly trying to do the most exciting thing. They're the
Mhm.
people who day to day are just they're doing their warm up, their cool down. It's like the stretches. You're doing
Yeah.
your basic things just to keep yourself healthy. And sales is a muscle. Like you have to
Mhm.
practice it regularly. You have to stay up on things. And if you don't, you're going to get left behind. Like it's very apparent from what I see in this industry. And you
Yeah.
talked in here about having like the right mindset, having the right approach to sales. I talk to a lot of people who train sales reps all the time.
Mhm.
Like we work with tons of sales managers,
Yep.
but our product is constantly in the hands of sales reps. And at the end of the day, it's the sales rep who's the one in the home. The manager can do everything they think they can to get the person to do their process. But at the end of the day, it's up to the sales rep and it's up to where their mindset is. And can you give us a mindset shift that you think every sales rep needs to make in order to get better at closing? Like, what's one small change that they can make in their mindset as they go up to ring that doorbell that can help them with that close?
Yeah. I think it's a combination of things. The first one is just going back to what I shared before is being in sales is the art of getting people what they want. And instead of you showing up at the door, ringing the bell, if you have a set appointment, so many salespeople show up. What can I get? How do I close this person? It's a very aggressive and transactional mindset that is 100% self serving. I am here. I really don't care what they want. I'm going to push. And for the home services people there that are tuning in, I don't care if it's a roof. I don't care if it's a new boiler, a new AC unit, whatever it is. You're not there to get their money. You're there to find out what they want and then figure out how you can help them get what they want. Now, the obstacle for roofing in specifically dialing into the segment of the market that does storm related work, insurance replacements. If they're not for storm damage, hailwind, or hurricane, a lot of these people don't know that they need a new roof. So I know I get pushed back and say, "Hey, Adam, well, they don't even know how do they know what they want?" Well, your job is to create the need first to help them discover the need, but within that need, there is a want that is there. And one of the one of my favorite books on sales was written by a guy named Keenan. It's called The Gap, Gap Selling. And by the way, there's no
Mhm.
first last name, just Keenan, Gap Selling. And I believe
We know that book well.
yeah, it's a great book, and he calls salespeople change makers. So
Mm.
your job is to facilitate change from a current state to a future state, and taking that approach when you just act as a guide, as opposed to a someone who's there to get something. And this goes back to giving. That would be the mindset shift that I would take. Is you're there to help people, you're there to solve problems by way of creating a future state that is more desirable than their current state. And there is a way to do that. That is the art of understanding the people that you serve.
So I want to pivot a little bit to get a little deeper into the
Mhm.
in-home sales interaction. So we are a sales presentation company. That is the bulk of what we do. We also enable other kinds of sales content, but like people know us and love us for sales
Mhm.
presentations. And we know in this industry that a sales presentation is not just the slides in a presentation. It's not just the
Mhm.
pages of your presentation. It's really a full experience that a sales rep should be providing to a homeowner, hopefully, if
Mhm.
they're doing the job right.
Yeah.
So, can you talk us through maybe a couple of key points that make a roofing sales presentation actually work in the field? Like, what are some things that a rep needs to keep in mind beyond just the presentation itself?
Yeah. Great question. For all the leaders, managers, owners that are listening, I believe that the primary purpose of a presentation is to keep your salespeople on track. That's it. So you're like, oh, well, it's to show the customers. That's a secondary impact. That's a bonus. But the main thing is to create consistency in the home. Facilitating change, when you look at anyone who has been a teacher, a trainer, a coach, there is a process that you go through that encourages people to change. It's a a step-by-step process. In sales, a sales conversation needs to follow a system. So following a process is important for so many reasons, but consistency in making sure that you're having the right conversation in the right order. So that's number one. Just use it. I don't care what you use. I was just running our onboarding for our community, going on a slight side tangent here, and we provide a done for you presentation in Engaged. And I was like, use it. I use Engaged. You should use it. And if you don't, I don't care. Use something. Like you can rip it off. I don't care. There's a reason you'll end up on Engaged, but that's for you to figure
Eventually
out,
we'll get you.
right? Eventually you'll find out why, but that's not the point. So getting back to like what makes a roofing salesperson successful is understanding that your presentation is not your presentation. And I know people be like, well, what the heck does that mean? Your presentation, I'm going to compare a rookie versus a pro. Rookie shows up, and I've shadowed this. It cracked me up. I was down in, what's Round Rock? Is it Round Rock? In Texas. I had some time before driving home, and this rep wanted me to shadow him. And he just nailed his presentation on the tablet, looked great. And halfway through, I'm like, there's not a chance he's getting this deal. And he walked out of it empty-handed. And the reason is your presentation is not a boilerplate, one-size-fits-all solution for every homeowner. But sadly, many people use it like, well, I was given the presentation, and it's one presentation for all scenarios. But roofing, believe it or not, is actually a little bit more complex, even in the insurance side. People are like, oh, it's insurance, it's easy. And then I always say, cool, then go do it. So first, what we need to do is understand the scenario that we are pitching to. So if we've got storm environment, we got retail, there's 4 main scenarios in a storm environment. People haven't filed a claim yet, often don't even know they have damage. They filed a claim and have partial payment, they filed a claim and got denied, or the homeowner sitting on a check. Now, within each of those scenarios is a different it's a different presentation. Someone who has no idea that the roof is damaged needs different information than someone who has a check from their insurance company. And we need to discover that up front. So the entire presentation needs to be tailored to that need. Now, on the retail side, there's really 4 main reasons people replace a roof. And we need to ask the right questions to uncover where they're at so we can sell to either a problem like an active leak that's happening, or maybe they're planning ahead financially. Maybe they're adding an addition. Whatever the scenario is, we need to discover that so we can sell to the right scenario. So that's number 1. And then number 2 is once we boil down the one-size-fits-all presentation, we understand the subset of needs based on their particular scenario, we can then move into discovering what they want. And my favorite question to ask is, Mr. Homeowner, before we get started, how will you evaluate which contractor you'll trust to work on your home? And then they share the information and you say, hey, tell me more. What else? And then they share everything that's important and you just respond with, great. So what I'm hearing, or it sounds like, and then you repeat back to them. And 9 out of 10 times they add more, or they re-emphasize the single most important point. And now at this point, you're what, 5 minutes in to your sales conversation. You know exactly the scenario you need to present to, so you can extract just the parts of your presentation that make sense and then package it up so the homeowner feels like you're selling exactly what they want. And if what they want, like I'll give you an example. I just did one of these in the homeowner, they had 52 solar panels on the roof. Their only concern was, I need to make sure I can work with someone who either knows solar or knows how to handle the solar. And by the way, my wife and I are busy. I have no time for this. He had 2 hot buttons. Can someone handle this for me? And without my time, and then can they navigate the solar? So the entire presentation, I'm just going to get boilerplate down to, I can give you exactly what you want. So that'd be the advice I'd give to make your roofing sales presentation wicked powerful in the home.
Yeah, I think there's always that like misstep when you're trying to implement a process, that like the process is there as a guide and you have to teach the what ifs.
Yes.
And that like really ties back to what you were saying at the beginning. Like you have to practice. So it's like, how do we handle all of these different types of customers? How do we get through these situations and handle, the craziest stuff that might come up? Because every buyer is a little bit different. And I think that especially today, when we're dealing with, you have some buyers who have put many roofs on homes, maybe they've bought a number of houses or they've been through this before. That's why they have the check in hand from the damage claim. Like they've done this before. And then you've got the person who this is their first house and they call their dad every time something happens because they don't understand how to fix their house. They don't know that they have damage. Like it's a very different sale.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about actually implementing a process, you said that the sales presentation really helps to just keep the rep on track. It gives them like that frame of reference through
Yes.
the entire sales process so that like they know where they have to go back to. It's like the touch points.
hmm
What do you say to a company that is really struggling to get their team to adopt or follow a consistent sales process of any kind, especially when you're dealing with a company that maybe has some more tenured sales reps who are like, no, this is how I do it. And like they always do it the same way and they don't want you touching their process. Like,
Yeah.
how do you approach those situations?
Let the numbers tell the truth.
Mm.
Most of them don't even have their numbers tracked. So they're running their, and I know I'm going to sound like a really abrasive butthead for a minute, but most business owners run by feelings, and running your company by feelings is the best way to run yourself out of business. And they say 9 out of 10 people I talk to, I close. And I'm like, cool. So that's your feelings. But what I'd like to see is the data,
Yeah.
because that's not a thing. And if it is, you should be charging double what you are.
Mm.
So one is let the numbers tell the truth. And if a sales rep is closing at 40% or more, who would I be in my right mind to say, do it my way? Dude, it's working. You're killing it. Keep it up. But I would get benchline data in place, which will likely be very unpleasant and a lot less than you expect. And then implement a system that is a proven model to have a controlled conversation that gets to the right outcome, and then watch what happens. And I see this all the time. I've had it happen with my team. People that have sold for me. I actually just had a conversation in our community yesterday. Seasoned sales rep. I'm used to doing 100 plus K per month, and all of a sudden I'm down to like 40. And now I'm making a huge hypothesis jump without the information, but my hypothesis is what I've seen happen hundreds of other times, which is the sales rep who got trained one way and did it. But it was all from memory, right? Like, this is how you run a sales call. So they go do it. And then they win a deal. And then the next appointment, they have a 1% change, maybe 2% change.
Mm.
And then the next appointment, their reference point is where they are today. And then there's a 2% change. And their reference point was yesterday. Rinse, repeat this. All of a sudden you go and shadow them, which I have. And you're like, they think that they don't even realize they're off track because the changes were so minor that they are literally just sitting there having a terrible dialogue, thinking that they're killing it. And what's happened is they've actually killed themselves.
Oh.
So when you get back to the basics and realize that that presentation is the most valuable tool you have, it is an anchor for the conversation to keep it going in the right way and keep your homeowners from bouncing you all over the place. And when as a leader, people change in life will only when they're close enough to the inferno that it burns them. But if they're just outside of it, they don't. So as a leader, you have to get your team to realize that they're standing in the inferno. And then when you can position this solution, like, I am here to help you to create the most incredible life you could ever have and make more money than you ever dreamed possible. And to do that, I got to give you the tools to do it. But I can only help you change if you realize that you need this change. So what I'm doing for you is presenting you a proven path and a framework that's going to help you serve more people who love you and invite you over for dinner and make more money. So that way you can provide the life that you want for your kids, your family, your kids. I already said kids, your wife, your family, your kids, whatever.
Your
all right.
dog.
So your dog, the foundation you want to start. And once there's buy-in and they understand what it will do, then it's really easy to get people following the process. And then where it all falls apart is management doesn't follow through with it.
Mm.
And the way you got to do that is audit the calls. And you can audit them. I don't know if I'm privy to some things that are cooking in your organization, but I'll say that there's some cool ways. I don't know.
We're live. We're live with, we have integrations with both Rilla and Sierra.
Perfect.
So if you're using one of them, they are live. They're out in the world. And
Yeah.
It helps. It really does help. It helps so that way you don't have to shadow every single call.
Mhm.
Who
And
has time for that?
It's amazing how many owners will be like, we're not closing great, so we're going to work on all of our sales training. Whoa. Listen to a call, because it might be the tiniest change. All that might need to happen is how your salespeople either, one, aren't asking for the business, they're screwing up the close, they're getting a common objection and leaving the house. So instead of going to just retrain on everything, just get detailed into what you need. So I would say, yes, use Zero, use Rilla, use one of those tools to find out what's going on, and then use those as training tools to share the best performers with everybody, so then you can just clone your best people.
Yeah. And I always tell people, get the full picture. You need to know what they're hearing and seeing. Like, what is the
Mhm.
homeowner hearing and what's the homeowner seeing?
Yes.
Because you could have a rep who's got the best talk track in the world. And if they don't support it with the visuals that you've paid good money to build and like that actually resonate with the buyer, like they're not going to remember it. Or if you've got a rep who's like great at clicking through everything and they sound like a robot, like
Yeah.
not going to be great for the homeowner. You need that magic.
Hmm.
Now, Adam, you mentioned objections,
Yes.
and this is something that we hear all the time. We
Hmm.
hear about objections to adopting new processes, objections that, oh, my sales reps are constantly running into this in the home. That's why our close rate is terrible. Can you tell me about an objection that you're just hearing all the time right now and a way that you're helping reps to overcome that?
Yeah. Price. That's the hottest thing right now.
Yep.
And speaking, and I'll get into this, the price specifically, but objections in total. Again, the difference between an amateur salesperson and a pro is the amateur does a great job in the presentation and hopes and prays that the objection doesn't come up.
Mhm.
The pro brings it up early and tells them that it will be a problem. So, what I would recommend is the following: air it out. If
Mhm.
I just ran a session for our community, I do these training sessions. We do like 2 to 5 a week. So we're doing a hot seat, and someone said, "Hey, I keep getting people who are concerned about price." And for salespeople, many of them don't realize that not everyone's your customer.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you know price is an ongoing issue, then what you do is you ask in the beginning, Mr. Homeowner, how will you evaluate which contractor you'll trust to work on your home? Tell me more. If price comes up, then you need to lean into it. And I would lean into it by saying, Mr. Homeowner, listen, I'm going to tell you this right now, and it's a promise I'm going to make you. You will find someone to do it cheaper than me. I promise. In fact, I'll guarantee it. There'll be a lot of people that'll do it cheaper. And I will also tell you this. And then I share a story. You don't say you get what you pay for. You share a story. Mr. Homeowner, Pam, listen, I had a homeowner. This was 3 years ago. She called me out for an estimate on a roof. I gave it to her. I was $3,000 more than the other guy. She told me that price was her only concern. She ended up going with this other guy. Okay. Fast forward 1 year, I get a phone call. She says, Adam, I need you to come fix my roof. Now I checked our CRM and I said, we didn't, that's our computer system where we log all of our interactions. I said, Pam, I have no record. It shows that we talked to you, but you ended up choosing someone else. You should call them. And Pam says to me, I did. They're out of business.
Mm.
And I said, okay. So we go out there. We ended up finding that they reused flashing
Oh,
and they cut a bunch of corners on their install. So what did the homeowner need to do? This was far beyond something that could just be like patched or repaired. They bought the roof from us. That, not because of today's price increases, was actually $4,000 more than the 3,000. Add insult to injury, she had to repaint her entire ceiling, and I'm talking about a vaulted ceiling.
oh.
They carried into an open concept. You don't patch it, you repaint the whole ceiling.
Yeah, no, you got to redo that whole thing.
Whole thing. And she has to clean her carpets. So, Pam, I respect your time. If price is your only concern, I'm not your contractor. And I wish you the best. And then a homeowner is going to say one of two things. They're going to say, wait, I want to hear more. Or they're going to change their tune, or excuse me, not change their tune and say, all I care about is price. In which case, that's also great news. You can leave the house and you just save yourself the time. Now, moving beyond that, we want to air out, we need to price anchor to the cost of the problem before we price anchor to our solution, before we then drop down to using our financing. So, again, where many people go wrong, for those that are unfamiliar, the idea of price anchoring means the first number that's shared is how I measure everything else. We are comparison creatures by nature. So, if I went to you, Pam, and said, hey, listen, I know you called me out because your roof is old and no one wants to replace the roof sooner than they have to. Roofing is like getting tires for your car. It's like, what are you going to do? You're going to run it till it's on hopes and dreams. You're going to get every ounce of life out and then you're going to replace it. Now, I admire you for wanting to get the most out of your roof. And quite frankly, I do the same thing. But the truth is that since 2020, there's been 4 to 12% rate increases per quarter on roofing. At that rate, the price of roofing has doubled every 5 years. And there's no sign in sight that it's slowing down. So what that means is you're going to call me back. Hopefully, I do a great job showing you everything. And then you wait, and then in another year, you're like, I'll get another year or two out of my roof. I come back, I give you an estimate, but it's $5,000 more. You're like, what the hell? So it's my responsibility to share that with you. So would it be worth $5,000 more to get another year out of your roof? No. And if you wait 5 years, your average roof in this market's 20 grand. All of a sudden, it's 40,000 in 5 years. So now I've price anchored to $40,000, which is the cost of the problem. So then I can move over to what your roof is today. And then from there, once we price anchor it to 20, now I can make it all go away and say, hey, we can actually take advantage of our zero payments for 12 months or low affordable financing options starting at 197 a month, and then anchor to there. So this is the way that I would approach it in the home, is to be proactive in hit it early, make sure a homeowner knows what to expect, price anchor to the problem, and condition them throughout the process of what an average roof costs in their market. So that way, when they see the number, they're not thinking, holy crap, I could just go buy a motorcycle or get a pool instead of putting a boring, ugly roof on my house.
Well, everybody does eventually need a roof. So,
They do.
They don't need the motorcycle.
Yeah.
So, Adam, you really are like dialed into this industry. You're working with all of these companies, you're working across the country. So you see trends and patterns kind of before a lot of us do, just because you are sort of boots on the ground. What is one big shift that you see coming for roofing sales teams in the next year or so?
Sales teams in general is going to be the need to adopt in the AI revolution. I did a video, a couple of videos on my YouTube channel, which if anyone's interested, just search Adam Bensman. You'll find over 600 videos on roofing sales. I don't care what industry you're in, you'll find valuable content on there. I saw Zach Cass speak. I'm part of this mastermind organization. He spoke at their annual event. Zach Cass was one of the 3 authors of ChatGPT. So he created, if anyone knows what's coming down the pike, it's this guy.
Yeah.
And Zach is now literally being flown all over the world to help companies adapt in the AI revolution. And what will occur in the next few years is beyond our comprehension and imagination. We must adopt AI because adaptability, as Zach says, adaptability is the new strategy. So that's a quote directly from Zach Cass. That's not something I came up with. We need to adopt to AI in 2 things. We need to optimize for AI, and then we also need to optimize against, meaning the human side of things. So far too many people just think it's a robot, let's just let them do it. But the human experience is a huge deal. So humanizing the sales experience while leveraging your time, huge shift. Shift number 2, consumers are getting, which have already been used to, instant gratification. They want it even more. So salespeople need to understand this and either get these resources from their companies or develop them on their own to provide answers to what I call now questions. Okay. So getting homeowners quick questions and creating a streamlined sales process. Because if one company gives you an instant quote and gives you everything you need up front, and the next one doesn't, you're kind of at a disadvantage. Now, one person may not care about the experience, the other person will. So in an ideal world, you have both. You have an incredible service experience and fast service. So I would say that salespeople are going to need to take that in mind, become pros of using AI. It doesn't mean that it's going to take over your job, but I love what Zach Cass says. He says, AI will not replace you, but you will get replaced by people who know how to use AI. In fact, I was running a training for my own internal team today on our weekly scorecard meeting. The last half was using AI. And the final piece that I'll share is a lot of roofing salespeople in the past, I get messages from them, and I'll give you an example. Send an email to Pam. Okay. Hey, Pam, it's Adam, and I'm wondering if you can help me solve this one thing. And where would you go for this? And by the way, and there's no punctuation. There's talking at their phone. And in this new wave of the future, there's so much more communication that's happening via text. And when I say text, I don't only mean text messages. I mean in writing. And writing skills will make or break salespeople in the next 5 years. And there are a lot of salespeople that are great in person and they write like they drank a bottle of tequila and went on a roller coaster. It's like, what in the world is going on with your brain? So learning how to sell over text is going to be a big skill set for them to develop.
So, if you have one piece of advice to offer a business leader who is trying to really up level their team to meet this moment in 2025, what would that be? As we head out, what is that last nugget of advice that you want to give the sales leader?
Investing in your team is the most important thing that you can do.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, there are like you said, there are so many skills that are coming into this industry that you need to have.
Mhm.
And it's like, if we want our teams to have longevity, we need to make sure that we are investing in their skill sets so that they
Yeah.
can meet the moment instead of just letting them kind of wash out. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to have to replace sales reps who are good reps because they don't have these skill sets.
They will leave you and go somewhere else. You
Yeah.
have to give people a reason that they wanna work for you, and I'll tell you, there's sadly, I think the majority, and again, I don't have the market data to share this. This is my hypothesis. My hypothesis is that the majority of the roofing market looks at salespeople as a way, you can make me rich, you can buy me my next boat, you can buy me my house. And instead of saying, how can I help you create the life of your dreams? And investing in your team isn't just buying Engage. Engage in and of itself isn't going to solve anything. It's using it and supporting your team by giving them the time, energy, and attention that they need to succeed makes people feel like they're slowing down and they're not paying attention to their business. But in fact, it is the wisest investment they could ever make because roofing is already cutthroat. I predict that in the next 5 years, 30% of roofing companies go under. I don't think people are even remotely prepared for the wave that's coming with private equity, insurance, and AI. And those three together is going to wipe people out. And those that don't understand that it was cutthroat before, it's even more cutthroat now. That also means that the sales reps are shopping around and finding the best place to call home, the company that's stable, the company that invests in them, and the company that sets them up for success. So if you are not all in on giving your team what they need, including your time or someone from your team's time, uh, you can write me an email in 2 years saying you were right and now I'm out of business. I hope that doesn't happen because I hope that this is a wake up call to be like, wow, I need to make this shift of what's in it for me and think what's in it for them. In fact, shameless plug for not my book, so I guess not shameless. Joe Polish's book, "What's in It for Them," this is a great read for owners. And then also "Who Not How" by by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. That one's on my bookshelf somewhere else.
Fantastic. Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Pam.
Thanks for listening to the Ingaged Podcast. Be sure to visit engaged.io for more information on how to create, share, and measure your way to success. If you love the Ingaged Podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time.